It is 6:30 p.m. and I call to order the Tuesday, May 19th, 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission. We do have a quorum present, and the next order of business is approval of the minutes from April 21st, 2026.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve by Joshua, second by Rick. You may vote now.
Give me just a minute. Get on the wrong.
Motion carries 6-0 with one absent. The next item of business are two public hearings. The first is consideration of a recommendation for amendments to the Unified Development Code by amending Article 2, Definitions, Article 7, Uses, Parking Requirements and Supplemental Use Regulations, and certain distance requirements, and Article 8, Off-Street Parking and Loading Standards of Volume 2 of the Lewisville City Code, known as the Unified Development Code, by adding a new definition of data center to Section 2.2.1, adding data center to Exhibit 7.2.3 and 4, non-residential zoning districts as a new use in the accessory and warehouse and storage use categories, and allowing some use in certain districts with a special use permit, and adding data center to the parking requirements outlined in Exhibit 8.1.4.1, minimum parking requirements. Hi, Jonathan.
Good evening, Commissioners. The demand for data centers has increased over the past few years due to a greater reliance on cloud computing and large language model systems, which require more server capacity. Currently, Lewisville's Unified Development Code does not have a definition or use type for data centers, and they're now seen as distribution warehouses. And because of this, they are allowed by right in any existing warehouse in the city of Lewisville, of which we have many. Though data centers and distribution warehouses have a similar footprint, there are several differences between a data center and a distribution warehouse. The first main one is just a greater reliance on resource consumption, primarily with an increased need for water and electricity capacities for these. Second, there's an environmental impact for data centers that many distribution warehouses don't have due to the fans, the generated noise from cooling fans, and potential pollution caused by the backup generators. Because of these two items and because of the many warehouses we have in Lewisville, we are looking to amend the Unified Development Code to define data center and to require special use permits for new data centers, which would allow the city to evaluate the compatibility of these data centers with the surrounding uses. So the recommendation from staff is to update the Unified Development Code with a new definition. This is a data center, a facility used primarily for the storage, management, processing, and transmission of digital data, which houses computer network equipment, systems, servers, appliances, and other associated components related to digital data storage and operations. This would also add a new data center use in our use chart, which would require a special use permit for any new data center in the light industrial, warehouse, or heavy industrial zoning districts. And finally, update the parking table to include data centers as well. The city of Lewisville currently has 2 data centers in the city limits. Both of these data centers were notified with the changes we are looking to make in the Unified Development Code. If this amendment to the UDC was approved, these data centers would then be legal non-conforming, which means that they could continue to operate, But if they were looking to expand, or if they ceased operation for more than 6 months, they would then have to go through the special use permit process to become a data center. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Yeah, please. Do you have pending, have people come to us and requested approval to incorporate some of this industrial space we have around here for data centers?
Sorry.
Has anyone come forward wanting to put in a data center, which has kind of prompted this to come to the forefront?
So we've had 2 data centers. One came in within the last few years, which developed, and there has been a large increase of data centers throughout the region and in the state, and that's because we have so much warehouse space in Lewisville, and today a data center could come into any existing warehouse and be a use by right. While using a lot more resources, we're trying to adopt this as early as we can and for the case when new data centers are looking to come into the city.
Do you have any pending? Is anyone,
No,
pending?
we don't have any pending right now. They would just need a certificate of occupancy currently in order to operate.
Thank you.
Josh, anything?
No questions from me.
Ladies, anything?
Thank you.
At this point, I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item may come forward and speak. Please give us your name and your address. We'll be happy to hear from you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Benson, 2323 Ross Avenue in Dallas. And I'm here tonight representing Digital Realty, which owns and operates one of the 2 existing data centers in the city of Lewisville. You're probably familiar with it. It's located at 2501 State Highway 121 in an area that is a former Texas Instruments campus development. So it's, it's bounded by freeways or high traffic roadways. It's not near any residential, anything like that. And I do a lot of work for them. They seem to be a very professionally run organization. So I'm hopeful that they're considered a good corporate citizen in the city of Lewisville. Looked on the Denton County Appraisal District website. Their property is valued at about $101 million appraised value. And about $70 million of that is improvements. I know that's not a zoning issue, but hopefully they're considered a contributing member of the community. So why am I here in front of you tonight? I understand, I read a lot of national media, local media. I think I'm pretty well informed about a lot of things. And this data centers, let's be real. I mean, it's a hot topic right now, and I understand the desire on the part of the city to be prepared in the event that more come in and want to locate in the city of Lewisville. It's interesting. I've been doing this for a while, and occasionally things come up like electric charging stations or liquefied natural gas facilities that when codes were written decades ago in some cases, I didn't know what a data center was, until 10 years ago or less. So it's, and understandably, the city is trying to get ahead of that and prepare for future developments that might want to come in. So totally get that, understand the rationale for doing that. Here are the concerns that we have as an existing user is that, as your planner, in my opinion, correctly briefed you, it would become a legal non-conforming use under your local ordinances as well as state law. And that's okay. I mean, I don't, hopefully, again, it's a good corporate citizen. I don't think anybody in the city, would make any moves to terminate it or anything like that. That would, frankly, under state law, that would be a very difficult process and expensive process. So don't think there's any appetite for that. However, that would limit the ability to expand the current use. And my experience has been when, a commercial property, when you're trying to get financing or your exit strategy, you're trying to sell it to another entity, another purchaser, we have to jump through a bunch of hoops to explain what legal nonconforming means, what the exposure is, potentially, even if it's very hypothetical. And what the nuances of that are under, again, your municipal code as well as state law. So that's one concern. I actually, when you all passed the code amendment to require SUPs for a range of manufacturing and industrial and warehouse type uses, I think it was a couple of years ago maybe, I got a number of calls on that. And that ordinance was interesting in that I think the city recognized that it would create a fair amount of nonconformity. So there was an element of that ordinance which basically established a date that if you had had a CO or an approved engineering site plan prior to that date, you were in essence grandfathered. On behalf of Digital Realty, I would respectfully ask you all to consider doing something like that here, especially since there's only 2 data centers. It's not like it's an out of control use with dozens of them popping up at this point. You may get some new ones coming in. I don't know, but the existing ones, that would at least protect them from having legal non-conforming status and everything that goes with that. The other idea that I had thinking about this leading up to this hearing is that, I don't have a technical background, I'm not an engineer, not anything like that, but been reading a lot about data centers, and there are all kinds of data centers. There are small enterprise type data centers that maybe have a few servers. The research that I looked at, there's some that maybe are only 5,000 or 10,000 square feet, all the way up to like the Amazon and Meta and Microsoft, what they call hyperscalers, which one thing I saw said they could be up to 2 million square feet, which is kind of mind-boggling. So one thing you might consider is, adding an element to whatever you end up recommending to council of maybe if it's under a certain amount of square feet, either grandfather it or not require an SUP at all. And I would suggest something like 250,000 square feet. By comparison, a big box retailer is maybe around 100,000, sometimes a little bit more. So that's a way of comparison. And one other thing about data centers, and then I'll wrap up, is once they are up and running, even though it's a lot of square footage and it's a commercial use, the trip generation, they don't have a lot of employees on site, so the trip generation, the traffic, is less, I think, than any other comparable commercial use that would be likely. I do understand the concerns about, power consumption, water consumption. Hopefully they're making progress on dealing with those, and there are different types of systems, closed loop systems, things like that as well. So it's going to vary, I think, from data center to data center. So anyway, those are some ideas I would respectfully ask you all to consider. And I appreciate your time tonight. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Questions?
Can I ask, Richard, can I ask a question? So should this be put in place, would the use of data center for like this particular company, if they were to sell their property at the future state, would that right go to the new purchaser? Like
yes.
STRs?
That legal status would continue as long as no changes are made or expansion occurs of the use on the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I concur with that as long as it doesn't go vacant for 6 months. And again, the other gentleman accurately described what's in your ordinance.
Okay. And then is there a date that we would look at putting this into place should it pass all hurdles?
But this would be scheduled to go before the P&Z on June 15th. So generally about 14 days later is when the ordinance takes effect. So that would be the date.
Okay. So about probably into June?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to come forward? Your name and address, please, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you. Victoria Morris with Jackson Walker as well, 2323 Ross Avenue, Suite 600 in Dallas. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for your time tonight. I am here on behalf of Wells Fargo, who operates the data center near the intersection of Edmonds Lane and West Round Grove Road. That's a mouthful. Also the property where my colleague Jonathan was just speaking about. Wells Fargo selected this property for its zoning as a light industrial district and with a vision to create a purpose-built data center facility. They have designed the project for scalable growth that is actively underway. This project represents a significant long-term investment in the city of Lewisville and the surrounding community. And to illustrate this long-term investment, I wanted to share just a few key highlights. The facility was designed and constructed to industry-leading resiliency standards. It was engineered to withstand severe weather conditions, including EF3 level wind events. And from a sustainability perspective, the facility received a LEED Gold certification, which is certainly not an easy task. It incorporates multiple environmental efficiency measures, including high-efficiency cooling system and reduced emissions generator technology that are compliant with EPA Tier 4 standards. The water usage effectiveness for this site is 0, which means that no water is used in the operation of the site. It is air-cooled, which is, I believe, one of the whereas provisions in the draft ordinance that there is at least one high water usage data center in the city. That is not ours. And the power usage effectiveness is well within the modern enterprise target. This site, as I said, was designed for a multi-phase expansion plan, and Wells Fargo is excited to bring the project to full completion. These future phases are integral to the long-term success of the site and were thoughtfully contemplated as part of the original design, the property investment, and the site selection. The proposed code amendment would significantly limit Wells Fargo's ability to continue its operations at this facility and bring the project to full completion. Like my colleague said, we understand that data centers are a hot topic and in our world today, but as one of the only 2 data centers in the city, we believe that the code amendment is premature, and the hindrance that this will impose on an existing facility is significant, and especially for a strong corporate citizen to the city. So we strongly believe that the light industrial zoning district is an appropriate classification for data center uses, and we would respectfully ask that you reconsider this code amendment. And again, in the event that you wish to proceed and recommend this item, we would ask that you consider including a provision that would allow existing data centers and those in the permit process to be considered legal and conforming uses. Thank you so much. Here for any questions.
Yes, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I do have a question. You said that there would be hurdles and impacts. What kind, if you were to pursue an SUP for expansion growth, should this ordinance be put into place? Can you give me an idea of what those hurdles and impacts would be?
Sure. So rendering the property as legal nonconforming is the first hurdle if this ordinance were to be passed for reasons that my colleague said, but for financing purposes, for having tenants come in the event that the use theoretically could be terminated by the city. Of course, there are other implications there that I won't dabble into, but also the SUP process is a discretionary one, and if there are multiple phases of this development, and so expanding a legal non-conforming use is not permitted. So we would have to come in and avail ourselves of the full SUP process. Again, it's a discretionary process. It takes time. It also takes resources to put together the site plan, to put together all of the application materials. And ultimately, we are at your discretion if you choose to approve the SUP.
Thank you.
If you promise today, we'll approve it. And I know that that's not in your purview because the application isn't before you. So just added time and resources.
Because I've been through the SUP process, and so I understand and I respect that, the time and everything that goes into that. But in my head, I'm thinking that if it's a large corporation that's developed putting in a lot of money, then there's some extra some already costs and overhead that are already there. And so I guess I'm trying to leverage how much above and beyond would this additional hurdle be for for a company that size of this kind of the kind of expansion you're explaining?
Sure, so just to provide additional color on the status of this project, the second phase of this project is in the building permit process right now, and the next phase is scheduled to go in, well, we have some civil permits in the process already, but we also have additional permits that are anticipated in the coming months. And so that will essentially put a halt on that process, the actual construction, until we can get through the SUP process. Typically, our experience is about 4 to 6 months, depending on breadth of comments and whatnot. And so it will ultimately halt that expansion. I think that one of the ideas of including either an effective date that is later in time, or providing that folks who are in the permit process currently, and that those could be still considered legal conforming, would help as well. Just the status as legal non-conforming is a hiccup when it comes to inserting tenants, finding users for the site, and ultimately financing as well.
Okay, I'll take your word on that. I don't know. My question to Richard is, for projects that are in work, is there going to be language around, like if there's already an engineering site plan on record with the city, that they would be exempt from this process as of the date of the ordinance goes into?
There's existing language in our Unified Development Code that states that, once you already have permits in, then you're allowed to continue. This would be for any new permits or expansions to any projects that are either underway or permitted.
Okay, so what she's explaining would probably be exempt.
Yeah, they could continue with the work that they have for this current expansion.
Okay, all right.
But just to give you a little bit more background on SUPs, Lewisville originally adopted the SUP process for multiple uses throughout the city. In April of 2013, so it's been, about 13 years. We have literally, City Council, our staff has worked with hundreds of applicants through the SUP process. We are known as being a very friendly city, very reasonable and cooperative. We always try to look for solutions. We literally have thousands of businesses that have the legal non-conforming status. They understand that they can continue to operate exactly as they are forever if they choose to, unless something triggers the SUP process. And like I said, we have counseled many property owners, and it's very common here in Lewisville. So it really has not been a problem over the last 13 years.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, I need just a quick question. When you finish this expansion project, is it going to double the size of the data center there? Is it all internal stuff? So you're going to be adding, more brick and mortar to the existing buildings that are there? How much bigger is it going to be once you get done with it?
The only planned exterior expansion is 50,000 square feet, and that is the second phase of the next 2 phases that I've been talking about. The phase that is actively in permit right now through the building permit process, I'll clarify, that is for finish out of the existing interior. So the next phase, which is in civil review, that will be an expansion to the actual building, but that is the only additional space.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Having no one else come forward, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, motion to recommend approval of UDC amendments as presented.
Waiting for the system to catch up. Did you make a motion?
I did.
It's taken a while to catch up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
The system is slow.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joshua. Motion by Rick, second by Joshua. You may vote now.
I'm sorry,
Roll over.
Francis, just to confirm, you're abstaining from this?
I am. Okay.
It's slow. There it goes. Motion carries 5 to 1 abstaining and 1 absent.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council, who will hold a second public hearing and make a final decision on Monday, June the 15th, 2026 at 7:00 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. The next public hearing is consideration of a special use permit for communication antenna over 25 feet in height and communication support structure on a .0826 acre portion of NEC at 1171 and Valley Parkway Addition, Lot 3R2-B, Block B, Phase 1, located at 1093 West Main Street, Zone General Business District, as requested by Ralph Weingarten, Falk, and Foster on behalf of Hemp Hill LLC, the operator, and TSCA-224 Limited, PS, the property owner. Case number 25-06-10 SUP.
Good evening, Commissioners. Hemp Hill LLC is proposing a communication tower on a vacant, on the vacant north side of a retail strip center. Hold on one second, let me pull this up. A propagation map was included with the application that shows the existing connectivity in Lewisville and the proposed improved coverage with the new 125-foot monopole tower. A 10-foot lightning rod will be included in totaling 135 feet. A previous SUP was approved in October 2025 for this same project and structure. They're returning now because they are shifting it, the footprint of it by over 10 feet, which is triggers them needing to return for the SUP process. But as a reminder, telecommunications are an important service that residents and business owners rely on for their day-to-day, and staff does not foresee any negative impacts on this tower on the surrounding area. Staff recommends approval for the standard as presented. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioners?
I have none.
In that case, I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak, you are welcome to come forward. State your name and address, please, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. Chris Patterson, West Monroe, Louisiana, with Falk & Foster on behalf of Hemp Hill LLC, the applicant. Ms. Cook took all my information and gave it to you already. Pretty much, this is a rehash of the same site that was approved back in September. We found some subsurface telecommunication fiber optic cables that were in the way, and I believe that Mr. Weingarten, who presented this back in September, we had just found it out about that time, and we did not know what a remediation plan was going to look like at that point. I believe there's also a water line, and it was determined it's easier for us to scooch it over to the west about 30 feet. The tower itself is going to move about 16 feet, which keeps us within all of the allowances that the FAA requires for not having to refile with the FAA. This tower is approved by the FAA to be a dark tower, so at this proposed height, we do not require lights, and you're not going to find a cell phone carrier or tower operator that installs lights unless they are forced to, because cost of maintenance and everything. That's really it. Like I said, I appreciate your time this evening, and if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions, Commissioners?
No questions.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak, please come now, state your name and address, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Having no one else come forward, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion, Commissioners.
Motion to recommend approval of the special use permit as presented.
Second.
Motion by Joshua, second by Aaron. You may vote now. Now. Here we go. Motion carries 5 with 1 abstaining and 1 absent.
Commissioners, this item will be considered by the City Council, who will hold a second public hearing and make a final decision on Monday, June the 15th, 2026 at 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Are there any announcements? Everybody down there?
No announcements.
No announcements. The rain has gone away. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion from Joshua,
Second.
second by Ainsley. You may vote. Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. We are adjourned.